You can leave a room full of decent people and still feel strangely wrung out. Nothing dramatic happened, yet your body acts like it survived something. Your face stayed polite, your voice stayed warm, and somehow you still came home heavy. You sit in silence afterward, wondering why ordinary interaction feels like emotional overtime. Part of you feels guilty because nobody was cruel, demanding, or obviously hard to handle. But another part of you knows exhaustion does not always need a visible reason. Sometimes being around people feels like carrying your nervous system without any skin. Every laugh, pause, shift in tone, or glance lands harder than most people realize. You notice what others feel before they even decide how to explain it. You hear tension in a simple hello and distance in a casual text reply. You can feel people wanting something long before they say it out loud. And that kind of awareness can make even normal social contact quietly expensive. People often assume drained means shy, antisocial, rude, or secretly judging everyone. But that usually is not what is happening inside you. A lot of the time, you are not rejecting people. You are trying to survive how much of them you can feel. Because being around others is rarely just conversation for you. It is reading, adjusting, predicting, softening, monitoring, and translating all at once. It is noticing who feels insecure and who wants approval without saying it. It is sensing when someone is disappointed but pretending they are fine. It is catching the weird silence after you share too much. It is feeling responsible for keeping the atmosphere from turning awkward. And by the time the interaction ends, you have already done invisible labor. Most people call that being thoughtful, caring, or emotionally mature. What they miss is how often that thoughtfulness was built under pressure. Some people learned early that peace in the room was their job. They watched adults change moods without warning and learned to stay alert. They learned that a slammed cabinet, a sigh, or certain footsteps meant something. So they became highly tuned to emotional weather before they understood themselves. That sensitivity did not come from nowhere. It often came from trying to stay safe, accepted, or emotionally prepared. When your system learns that connection requires constant scanning, people become tiring fast. Not because people are bad, but because your body never fully clocks out. You may look calm while your mind is making hundreds of tiny calculations. Is this person upset? Did I say too much? Should I explain better? Do they actually like me? Am I being too quiet? Am I being too intense? That constant internal checking drains energy even during perfectly normal interactions, especially if you grew up needing to read rooms before entering them emotionally. Some people were loved, but only when they were easy. Some were heard, but only when they stayed pleasant and useful. Some became the calm one, the wise one, or the low-maintenance one. And those labels can become beautiful prisons when they harden into identity. Because now you are not just talking to people. You are managing the version of yourself that keeps relationships from shaking. That is why simple social moments can feel oddly exhausting afterward. A coffee date becomes emotional performance without anyone meaning for that to happen. A group dinner becomes 12 separate energies pressing against your attention at once. A family visit becomes remembering old roles before you even sit down. Even kind people can tire you if you automatically brace around them. Because the drain is not always caused by who they are. Sometimes it is caused by what your body expects connection to cost. And expectations built over years do not disappear because the current person seems safe. Your system can treat ordinary conversation like a test you forgot studying for. That is why you may dread plans with people you actually love. Not because you do not care. Because caring makes you more alert, more available, and more absorbent. You do not just show up. You unconsciously open the door to everyone else's emotional static. Then you wonder why your chest feels tight halfway through the night. You wonder why small talk feels louder than actual noise. You wonder why 1 hour out can require 3 hours alone afterward. And sometimes, the worst part is trying to explain this to others. If you say people drain you, it sounds arrogant or cold. If you say socializing exhausts you, people assume insecurity or social anxiety. If you say you need space, some people hear rejection. So you often keep the deeper truth to yourself. The truth is that your energy leaks through hyper-awareness. It leaks through over-accommodation. It leaks through staying tuned into everything except your own internal battery. And that pattern can follow you into nearly every part of life. At work, you may become the person everyone unconsciously unloads onto. You seem grounded, so people hand you attention they cannot hold themselves. You nod, listen carefully, and leave meetings feeling strangely foggy and depleted. In friendships, you can become the emotional translator without realizing when it started. You remember everyone's patterns, wounds, triggers, and unspoken disappointments, like background tabs. Then one minor conflict hits, and your mind starts rehearsing 10 possible outcomes. In romantic relationships, you may overread distance before real distance even exists. A delayed reply can trigger hours of quiet interpretation inside your body. Not because you are dramatic, but because uncertainty feels physically expensive. In family settings, the drain can arrive before any words are exchanged. One familiar tone can pull old survival versions of you back online. Suddenly you are younger inside, more watchful, more careful, less fully yourself. That kind of exhaustion is hard to explain because it looks invisible. From the outside, you are just sitting at the table. Inside, you are scanning for disappointment, conflict, withdrawal, and hidden expectations the entire time. Even casual social spaces can feel heavier than they look. You walk into a party and instantly sense the pecking order. You can feel who is performing, who feels left out, who wants attention, who feels threatened. Other people call that reading the room. For you, it can feel like being unable to stop breathing. And when your attention is always reaching outward, your energy rarely returns inward. That is why solitude can feel less like preference and more like oxygen. Being alone is not always about avoiding people. Sometimes it is the only place your system stops negotiating. No hidden moods to track. No pressure to soften the silence. No invisible job of keeping everyone comfortable enough to keep liking you. Just your own breathing, your own pace, your own unedited presence. That relief can be so intense it almost feels spiritual. But it can also become confusing. Because you still want connection. You still crave depth, warmth, being chosen, and feeling known without self-abandonment. You are not detached from people. You are tired of what happens to you around people. That distinction matters more than most people understand. It means your exhaustion is not a personality flaw. It is information. It is your body telling the truth about how much effort connection currently requires. And sometimes that truth is painful because it exposes an old pattern. You may have learned to earn closeness by becoming emotionally useful. You may have learned to stay safe by becoming easy to be around. You may have learned that being wanted depended on being deeply attentive. So now your empathy can become overextension before you even notice it happening. You feel someone shifting, and your energy immediately moves toward their discomfort. You anticipate needs nobody asked you to carry. You answer tension before anyone names it. You leave yourself halfway through most interactions without noticing the moment you disappeared. That is a huge reason people feel drained around most people. Not because they are weak, not because they are broken, because somewhere along the way they confused connection with self-erasure. And self-erasure is exhausting even when it looks graceful from the outside. The hardest part is that this pattern can make you feel lonely in company. You can be surrounded by people and still feel emotionally untouched. Because they are meeting the managed version of you, not the private one. They like your calmness, your insight, your patience, your depth. But they may never see the cost of producing those qualities nonstop. So you can end up loved for your regulation while starving for real rest. That creates a very specific kind of sadness. You start wondering whether anyone knows you without benefiting from you. You start noticing how often your presence becomes a container for other lives. You start craving people who do not require you to shrink or translate yourself. And that craving is not selfish. It is a healthy reaction to long periods of emotional overuse. Still, it helps to be honest about one uncomfortable truth. Not everyone who drains you is actually demanding. Some are simply ordinary, and your nervous system still goes to work anyway. That means healing is not just about finding better people. It is also about recognizing the hidden job you keep doing around them. The job of reading more than needed. The job of preventing feelings that are not yours. The job of staying emotionally available past the point of honesty. The job of being understandable, agreeable, and safe enough for everyone else. When you slowly stop doing that, something strange happens. You might feel awkward before you feel free. You might feel guilty before you feel rested. You might worry people will notice the difference immediately. Some probably will. Because when you stop overfunctioning, certain relationships lose their usual convenience. People who relied on your emotional labor may call you distant. People who loved your endless patience may feel your new edges. People who never asked what things cost you may not understand at first. But that discomfort can be part of returning to yourself. Real connection feels different from managed connection. It has less performance in it, less scanning, less silent anticipation, more room to breathe, pause, and exist without earning your place every minute. You do not leave those interactions feeling hollowed out. You leave feeling more like yourself. That difference is worth paying attention to, because not every drained feeling means you need isolation forever. Sometimes it means you need relationships where your body can finally unclench, where silence is not suspicious, where honesty does not create punishment, where presence is enough even when you are not performing warmth perfectly. That kind of connection can feel unfamiliar at first, maybe even unsettling, because peace can feel suspicious when your system grew up around emotional unpredictability. But over time, safe people feel less loud. You stop rehearsing as much. You stop shape-shifting as fast. You stop leaving every conversation like you just worked an unpaid shift. And even if you are not there yet, this matters. Being drained around most people does not automatically mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes it means your sensitivity has been working without protection for too long. Sometimes it means your empathy forgot it had boundaries. Sometimes it means your body got used to calling vigilance personality. So if you keep needing space after ordinary human contact, listen carefully. Your exhaustion may be carrying a message your mind has been minimizing. Maybe you are not too sensitive. Maybe you are overexposed. Maybe you were never meant to absorb this much just to belong. And maybe the real shift begins the moment you stop judging your tiredness. Because your tiredness has probably been trying to defend you for years. It has been saying enough long before your mouth learned how. It has been asking for gentleness while you kept calling yourself difficult. It has been begging for slower rooms, safer people, and less emotional noise. So the next time you leave a room and feel that familiar heaviness, pause. Do not immediately blame your personality. Do not force yourself into another performance of being fine. Just notice what your body is telling you about the price of being there. Sometimes the most important self-discovery is painfully simple. You are not made to disappear every time you connect. And the right relationships will never require that kind of exhaustion to keep them alive.